إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا وإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله فقد فاز المتقون. قال الله تعالى في القرآن الكريم بعد أن أقول أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا لم تقولون ما لا تفعلون كبر مقتا عند الله أن تقولوا ما لا تفعلون. وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم المسلمون على شروطهم. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Dear brothers, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us to witness another Yawm al-Jum'ah, the blessed day that is dedicated for our ibadah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yawm al-Jum'ah is ordained for us for the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just as He's given certain days to all the other Abrahamic faiths. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about this day, يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع. That all you who believe, if the call to prayer is made on the day of Jum'ah, فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله, go quickly to the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وذروا البيع, and leave aside your business. For that reason it is prohibited for us to do business during the time of Salatul Jum'ah. After the adhan is called, we have to close our shops and stop the business. And an extension of that, we need to let go of the dunya matters. When we enter the masjid, we need to let go of focusing on dunya. Let go of the phones and the gadgets. And make a few moments to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam explained about the adab of Yawm al-Jum'ah. He said, "Man massa al-hasa faqad lagha." Even a person who plays with a small stone on the floor during the khutbah time is if he made laghu, which is an idle talk during the Jummah. We are not allowed to speak also during the Jummah. It is mentioned in hadith, even if you tell your companion or your neighbor who's sitting next to you to be quiet during the Jummah, your Jummah is broken. So even to this extent, we are not allowed to be distracted or deviated from the focus of Yawm al-Jum'ah. The topic today is revolving around the three verses that I recited and the hadith. And these are about keeping the word. So the first is from Surah Al-Saf. سَبَّحَ لِلَّهِ مَا فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَا فِي الْأَرْضِ. All praise is given to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by that which is in the sky and that which is in the earth. وَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ. And the next ayah says, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لِمَ تَقُولُونَ مَا لَا تَفْعَلُونَ. O you who believe, why do you say that which you do not do? كَبُرَ مَقْتًا عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَن تَقُولُوا مَا لَا تَفْعَلُونَ. It is a great sin, or it is a great evil in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you say that which you do not do. And I'll explain this more later. And the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, Al-Muslimun ala shurutihim, that the Muslimun, our ummah of Islam, we are upon our shurut, meaning that we fulfill our shurut, our conditions. Whenever we set conditions for agreements, we fulfill them. This is our sifa, this is our miza, this is our description, our characteristic. The only time this may not be fulfilled is if there are conditions set upon us which contradict what is in the Sharia, what is in the Quran and Sunnah. Otherwise, we have a duty to uphold our shurut. Now, what do these things all relate to. Today I want to relate them to business and the fiqh, or the knowledge and understanding from the Quran and Sunnah of how we should do business as Muslims. Now, as Muslims, we are very familiar about the prohibitions of the basic things of the daily life of not eating pork and not drinking alcohol. We know that zina or fornication is prohibited and certain other kinds of deviant acts. These things we become very familiar with at a young age. But when it comes to business, the topic is usually not covered very well. Even many people don't learn that riba or interest is haram until later on in their life, if they're able to get some extra knowledge. It's not something that's commonly taught to the children, and it's something that even could be difficult to understand for the adults. But my focus is not only on the prohibition of riba, it is much bigger than that. It is how do we approach the engagement with another person in going into a business transaction or a business matter. What are the ethics of that? What are the rules of engagement when we want to set out on trying to earn a halal income? Are there any rules from Islam, or is it open? Is it the rule of the jungle? Yani the winner takes all, or the biggest lion takes the largest share, or only the strong survive. These are not the rules, and you probably know that very well. These are not the rules of how we do business in Islam. And before we dive deep into that, I want to make a point of how perfecting this knowledge, and not only perfecting it in understanding, but also in implementation, is, I believe, one of the key steps that we must take in order to take the ummah forward the next step. Not necessarily to revive or revolutionize or bring back the glory days, but to go forward at least. A major step forward. Now, in many cases, when people talk about the best days of Islam after the time of the Prophet ﷺ and the Tabi'een and the Tabi'een, a lot of times we talk about the story of Andalus, which is the Muslim Spain. And of course, we love to romanticize and talk about how when Islam was in Spain, this was the pinnacle of our civilization. When Islam and Muslims ruled Spain, the best of universities in the world were there. People would send their children from around the world, even from Europe. People would send their children to Spain, and they would learn Arabic, and they would learn science and medicine and everything. A new cradle of civilization, not the first, but a new cradle of civilization. But eventually that kingdom and that empire, it fell, and Spain became what it is now. And unfortunately, a lot of the Muslim history there was erased. Many masajid were turned into churches, and people were forcefully converted to Christianity. But that was also because of some mistakes that was done by the Muslim empire themselves. They became too worldly. They became too consumed in enjoying worldly affairs rather than focusing on their connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's not to blame that all this happened because of the Spaniards or Ferdinand and Isabella, or this is because of Christianity. No, there's also human factors there. But a lot of times people always say we need to go back. We need to become like the past. And they talk about, how Islam started just in Mecca and then Medina, and then after that Syria was added, and Egypt was added, and Sham was added, and this was added, and we had all of these futuhat. And the battles, how many battles were won? And the Muslims were few, and they won this battle. And they were few in this situation, they won this battle. Even the story of Tariq bin Ziyad, who conquered Cordoba, his story is amazing. He came with ships. And he said, after everyone got out the ships, he said, burn the ships. He burnt all the ships. He said, no one's going home. Either you get victory or you go to Jannah. You have only two options. Going home is not an option. And it was a very strong resolve that he had. And he said, I'm not commanding you to do anything that I'm not doing. Tomorrow we start, and they are more than us. Either you fight hard or you will die. So start strong and finish strong. And I'm in the front. So I'm not telling you to do something and I'm in the back. I'm in the front, and I will be in the most dangerous area. And like that, they went forward. So people see this, oh, amazing, mashallah, Tariq bin Ziyad, if only we had like him again. But in today's world, time for fighting is no more. We will not get Spain back by fighting like that. We will not get Palestine back by fighting like that. Even the most powerful countries in the world now, their main focus is not military, it's economic. And there are books written, you can even find a book called The Diary or The Confession of Economic Hitman. How many countries, even Muslim countries, they were brought under control because of economic strategies. So it's this economic knowledge and know-how and strength that is actually the real battlefield of today. And we are lacking in our knowledge of how to do it. Alhamdulillah, in some Muslim countries we have Islamic banking, at least. But Islamic banking is not the whole topic. Islamic banking is a facility for some things. But even if you are just a simple person selling food, you're selling rice or fried rice on the street, maybe there are, not maybe, but for sure, there are some things from Islam that you need to know. For example, when there was a market, the Prophet ﷺ, he used to go around and check when people were selling the raw materials, such as rice. And he would check to see what is the quality of the stack or the sack of the rice. Because sometimes people would put a good quality rice on the top of the pile, and underneath it is bad quality rice. So when people see on top, they say, oh, this rice is nice, and then they scoop inside. But when they scoop inside, they get half good rice and half bad rice. This is a kind of, you can say gharar, uncertainty, or is a kind of deceiving, yani khiyana, which is not allowed in Islam. Now, how many people know that? Going forward, this kind of deception can be applied today. Now you have many people who sell food. The big companies, big restaurants, mostly all of them, they have these beautiful pictures. They have people called food artists. And they make a replica of the food from plastic, from wax. They put the cherry on top of the sundae and they put red lipstick on it. And you never know that. But you wonder why you go to McDonald's and the picture burger is so beautiful and the real burger is so miskin. Because that burger didn't get the makeup. That burger didn't get the makeup. This is a kind of deception. And in Islam, we're not allowed to deceive people. Yes, you have to do your marketing, but we have to strike a balance between marketing with attractive description and deceiving people. You have to make things attractive, of course, but we cannot deceive people. How do we balance? This is a question you have to at least have in your mind. I cannot answer everything in 30 minutes, but this is a question you have to ask. And going back to the example of those tabi'een in earlier generations, we are not going to be able to pick up swords and shields or go on long journeys across the world and try to open a new land. That's not going to happen. But what we have to have, similar to what they had, we have to have resolve. We have to have determination. We have to have the ability and the willingness to make some sacrifices. Can we sacrifice 1 hour per day for something for the sake of Allah? Even if it is just reading Quran. They were sacrificing life, limb, soul, money, everything. Okay, can we squeeze it down? Just sacrifice 1 hour of time. No limbs, no danger, no burning ships. Just sacrifice a few hours of time. Or can we sacrifice money? Can we sacrifice going for some business that may be shubha, may be uncertain about if it's halal, and go for another one that is certain that is halal, but maybe it's a little bit less profit? Can we make that sacrifice? If we don't make any sacrifices, we won't get anywhere. But at least we have to be able to be willing to make these things, because these are what I was indicating in the topic, which is understanding the fiqh of business for your deen and for your da'wah. The first is for your deen, yani for your own practice. Improving your practice of Islam is one. And number two, your da'wah, which is calling others to Islam. And practicing your deen should automatically be a kind of da'wah. Yani in this part of the world, what war happened in order for Islam to reach Malaysia or the Nusantara region? What war had to happen? There was no war. As far as I know, there was no war. But there were people who came and they were doing what? They were doing tijara. They were doing business. And there was something about them that made them special, that was powerful enough to convince kings to change their direction, to change their way of life and their belief. This must be something powerful. A king doesn't have to change anything, especially if someone comes from a foreign land. He can just kick them out, okay, get out of my country. But actually people came here from another country and another land, and they brought something with them that was powerful enough to change the people. What was it? It was that adab of the business, that honesty, that akhlaq, and also that, of course, commitment to the deen. And maybe there were other factors. I cannot expound the whole history in its entirety, but that was definitely a factor, that they came here for business purposes. Came to Indonesia also doing the same. Now you have the most populous Muslim country, more than 250 million people, and how many thousand islands. You go to even small islands in Indonesia, and people there is Muslim. And no one went there to conquer them, but subhanAllah, somehow the La ilaha illallah reached them. There was, of course, the love of the deen, but their first interactions were most likely through business. And so we have to ask ourselves now, the non-Muslim people that do interact with us in terms of business, how impressed are they by our method of doing business? Are they satisfied that this Muslim person, he's very honest? I mentioned, Prophet ﷺ said, Al-Muslimun ala shurutihim. When we make promises, do we keep those promises? First and foremost, okay, with our Muslim brothers and sisters, but also with those that are non-Muslim. And we don't have a faith that says it's okay for you to treat your fellow brother in one way, but you treat the other religion in another way. This is not the way of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was Al-Amin. He was known as the one that was most trustworthy and honest, to the extent that there would be people of the book. There would be those that were Jews, would come and say, okay, Muhammad, judge between us. They would call him and say, Muhammad, we have a dispute, judge between us. And he would. And sometimes he would even use their book, judge between them using Torah. Can we get this level of trust now, where people will come to us from outside communities for our justice and honesty? Now we can even see that in the Muslim world, partnership is being made with organizations like United Nations for collection of zakah. And this is not a matter of is it right or wrong, but it just goes to show the trust that this organization has garnered. So now they can even be involved with collecting zakah. Whereas in some Muslim countries you have a zakah body, in some Muslim countries you don't. But what is our level? It's a question just to think about. And going forward, there's more and more examples that we have to know. But I will just suffice in this first portion of the khutbah to say is that to bring back the glory of Islam is not necessarily in acquiring new land, and is not in pitched battles. But it is this internal battle that we have to struggle in, making sure that we earn halal. Because the Prophet ﷺ, he said, he feared for us not the kufr of shirk, but he feared for us to love the dunya too much because of accumulating wealth. This is what he feared for us. And one of the signs of the Day of Judgment is that a person will not care what the source of their income is. They won't care how they got their money. So you think about these two things and you think, how many of us are we bringing this qiyamah on ourselves faster if we start living like that, where we don't care where our money comes from? And some people think that qiyamah is, okay, when Mahdi comes, Imam al-Mahdi comes, when Isa comes, when there's Dajjal. But actually, it's much closer than that. We don't know when that will happen. Allahu A'lam. But there was a person who came to the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Mata sa'a? When is Yawm al-Qiyamah? And he said, in different situations he was asked the same question. But in one case he was asked, when is the Qiyamah? So he looked for the youngest person in the room. He found a young boy and he pointed at him. He said, when this young boy becomes old, your Qiyamah will already be started. So our Qiyamah is not necessarily those, but our Qiyamah is when we pass away. That's the beginning. And so we don't want to have the characteristics or the negative characteristics of what are the signs of Qiyamah coming close when we pass away. And we know there are many signs. We know that, one of the signs, for example, is that the women will dress in such a way that they will be clothed, but they will appear as if they are naked. This is a negative thing, but it is a sign. We don't want to be amongst those people and then die. And also we don't want to be amongst the people who don't care how their income is made and then we die. Because we are living the negative characteristics of Qiyamah and then we go into our Qiyamah. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from that, to protect us from the greed for the dunya and the love of the dunya that distracts from the love of the akhirah. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. صلى الله وبارك على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Dear respected brothers, the topic for today, as I mentioned, is about understanding the fiqh of business for our deen and our da'wah. Dear respected brothers, there are many different chapters inside of what we call fiqh mu'amala. Fiqh mu'amala is the part of Sharia that teaches us the knowledge of how to interact. And fiqh mu'amala covers everything from marriage to business and to things beyond that. Even how we deal with the animals and so on and so forth, you can find chapters in there with that. But this part of fiqh mu'amala and the business is what we want to focus on. And there's so much to talk about. How about investment? How do we deal when we want to do investment? Savings. So many different things. Loans. But I want to just zoom in on the condition that I have seen, and I know other people have seen, of how Muslims are doing business with each other and how we have to change that in line with the Quran and Sunnah. And first and foremost, one of the examples that I've seen, and this is international, not in any country in specific, is that Muslim brothers, when they want to deal with each other, they want two things. First, when they come to you, if you're the seller or you're the merchant, they want the Muslim brother discount. Brother, you have to give me discount. You go to other shops, it's not Muslim, you're willing to pay full price. We go to Muslim, you have to give a lot of discount. This is okay. If you are a seller and I'm a seller, I give you some discount today, you give me some discount tomorrow, okay. But if you just want to squeeze this brother and take all the discount and get no profit, how can we go up economically? How can we build masajid and help the orphan and this and take care of the family if you want everything discounted? And you come and the first thing you ask is 50%. Subhanallah. You kill the Muslim business. Second of all, which is more dangerous than that, people don't want to write things down. This is very dangerous, brothers. And I have real stories to share with you about this. The longest verse in the Quran, first and foremost, is called Ayatul Dain. This is in Surah Al-Baqarah, the second and last page. This ayah is one full page, no break. The longest verse in the Quran. In the beginning of that verse, it says, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu idha tadayantum bidaynin ila ajalin musamman faktubuh. He said, O you who believe, if you take a loan for a fixed period of time, so then write it down. And this, you may see it on the surface, okay, this is about loans. But it can also be any kind of owing anything. You owe a service to a person and so on and so forth, that can also come under this. So therefore, it is a kind of contract. And it's saying about this contract to write it down. And I cannot explain the whole verse, but later on it does say in that verse that if you have trust, then it is not compulsory for you to write it. And it also talks about witnesses, and so on and so forth. But the issue that I want to connect with this is that so many people, you go and do business with them and say, okay, brother, let's write it down. And they say, brother, I'm a Muslim, you're a Muslim, why do we have to write it down? Don't you trust me? Come on, Akhi, I pray in the masjid. And you see it as if you ask him to eat a pork or something. You ask him to write something down and he acts as if you ask him to drink alcohol. Brother, I'm a Muslim, you are a Muslim. I didn't ask you to do something haram. I'm asking him to do something is in the Quran. It's very halal. This is very dangerous. I was just recently meeting a Muslim brother, Malaysian brother. He's a contractor. I give you a real example so that you can see with your own eyes. This is not theory. Came to the brother, I want to sell some things. I'm moving my house, I want to sell some things. He asked me for the Muslim brother discount. Okay, brother, I'll make some discount for you, no problem. Then he said, brother, I'm struggling. I said, what happened? He said, I did a project. I do electricity for buildings. And I did a project with the value of 90,000 ringgit, yani for like condo building. And this is for a Muslim brother and he's Hajji. So when we were doing it, I said, okay, Hajji, let's write it down. He said, come on, Zul. His name is not Zul, but I give you an example. Come on, Zul. You know me lah. How many years we know each other? Okay, I don't have money now, you just do it. So he said, okay, he's an innocent guy. He went and do the work. 90,000 ringgit value. He finished the work. Hajj is gone. Go for another Hajj. Don't laugh. Astaghfirullah. The Hajj is gone. He looked for him. He changed the state, moved to another state. I asked him, he's still alive? Yeah, he's still alive. He's not dead or anything. But he went to another place, doesn't answer his phone, so on and so forth. I said, what can you do? He said, I cannot do anything. Nothing in black and white. This happens all over the world, brothers. This is not the legacy of Islam, the glorious legacy of Islam, that we cheat and beat each other. It is not the legacy of Islam that we don't write things down. Yani, the first verse of the Quran is Iqra, and the Muslims love to write. And there was one point in Islam where people would write books and they would get reward by gold, by the weight of the book. And now we're in 2019 and we have everything. We have paper, pen, ink, e-ink, Kindle, iPad, everything, and nobody write down nothing. It's impossible. But it's happening. This is because of ignorance. Wallah al-azim. Because of ignorance. Because all we know is don't do zina, don't drink alcohol, don't eat a pig, don't marry a non-Muslim unless they convert. But that's not enough. We cannot go up if we are beating each other down. Cannot blame other people if we are beating each other down. I'm from America, so I go around a lot of places. I meet brothers from all over the world. And since I was young, you don't know, brother, what America did? Yes, I know. And then after that, and also your friend Israel. Yes, I know, I'm sorry. I never did any of these things. I was a child, but my whole life, I see that. And of course, what happens, happens. No one is innocent. But the Quran says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not change. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves. So at least in this area, we have to be able to change ourselves. This is no one forcing, no one putting a knife to us saying, okay, go and cheat other people. It's just happening. No one is saying, okay, be deceptive in your business practices. It's just happening. How about we invest with a Muslim brother? Okay, brother, I invest with you. Okay, but if the business fails, you have to pay me back everything. That's not investment. That's a loan. Investment in Islam, you have to share the risk. If you want to give a loan, that's fine. But don't call it investment and then you share 0% of the risk. So you have to know what are the rules in Islam for investment. I cannot explain everything, unfortunately, due to time. But you have to know these things. Search, explore, ask people. It doesn't matter what business you're doing. You can be in engineering, in IT, you can be paving roads, whatever. Even there's people all around the world. They have to do infrastructure project. What do? Cheapest material. Do the project. This happened in a lot of places, and people die because of this. I don't want to mention a wrong example, but let's just say in this world, there are people who do infrastructure projects, could be for roads, bridges, or whatever, and because of that greed and cutting corners, what do? They put other people's lives at risk. And if you look through history, you'll find this all over the world. This is something that we are not supposed to do as Muslims. There are bridges that were built in Bosnia and Spain by Muslims that still stand until today, or somehow standing. Because people put quality in those things. People put ikhlas. You see the masajid, you go to Turkey, Sultan Ahmed Mosque is still standing there. What materials did they use? What quality did they put? That mosque, hundreds of years old, still standing. Still standing. This is not just luck. We don't believe in luck. This is tawfiq. And this is faith in action. And so that's what we have to do. We have to put our faith in action in our business dealings. And we will make the islah first in our community. And that will have the ripple effect, inshallah, to become a da'wah. That we don't even have to say anything, but just by interacting with us with this justice, because there's people cheating left and right all over the world. Even the people that are non-Muslim, they will see this person is different. This person, he had a chance to go for profit, but he went for honesty. What do you believe? The conversation can come just from that. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us tawfiq, to sacrifice from the dunya for the akhirah, to sacrifice the short term for the long term, to understand that what is al-akhiratu khayrun wa abqa, that the akhirah is better and longer lasting, and to understand that these dollars and cents, they are not everything, but the pleasure of Allah is everything, and that Allah sees all and He hears all. And we wish that our money is halal, so that our food is halal, and what we feed our family is halal, and that our dua will be accepted. Because if our money isn't halal, then all of these things will be rejected, and we're feeding that also to our families. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم حبب إلينا الإيمان وكره إلينا الكفر والفسوق والعصيان واجعلنا من الراشدين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا لا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم. عباد الله رحمني ورحمكم الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله يذكركم واشكروه على نعمه يزدكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. وأقم الصلاة.